no peace, no killer police. No justice, 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 no peace, no killer police. You can't respect us! You can't protect us! You can't respect us! You can't respect us! You can't respect us! You can't protect us! You can't respect us! You can't protect us! You can't protect us! You can't protect us! You can't respect us! You can't protect us! You can't protect us! You can't respect us! You can't protect us! You can't protect us! You can't respect us! You can't protect us! No justice! No peace! No killer police! 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 No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
How are you doing? Seeing you.
You can't protect us! You can't
How you
respect
doing?
us! You can't protect us! You can't respect 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 respect us, you can't protect us.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, these killer cops have got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, these killer cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these killer cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these killer cops have got to go.
Yes, is that from you? Not, you're saving your voice?
These killer cops have got to go.
She says, no, she's saving her.
Ho, ho, these killer cops have got to go. Ho, ho, these killer cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these sexist cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these sexist cops. Hey, hey, these sexist cops have got to go.
Yeah, I think I saw him on like
Okay, he said I was hot, so he's right. I want to thank everybody that came, that took the time to come out here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you and your support. I wrote a speech this time because I really wanted to cover every single thing that I've been thinking about and that I'm passionate about. So bear with me if it's long because I do tend to babble.
Boy, we know that.
Shut up, Rob. First of all, we're all here today, and I appreciate all of your loving support and your endless devotion for this important cause. I hope that our efforts today will bring us one step closer to getting justice for Dillon, and as a result, protecting others from such tragedy in the future. There is not one person in the state of Utah that should feel safe knowing that there are no statewide regulations for how officer-involved shootings and crime scenes are handled. The current system is riddled with collusion, biases, and cover-ups. At present, the only condition that seems to matter is whether or not an officer involved is in fear for his life. It would appear that as long as any officer makes this claim, they are free to take the lives of whomever they feel threatened by, regardless of the circumstances. Such as Dillon's case, where he was unarmed, non-violent, and not breaking the law. We need to remind those who assisted in exonerating Officer Cruz that while they clearly valued the officer's life enough to determine that he acted within the law, the life that was lost had an equal amount of value, and yet it is being completely disregarded as if it were a simple casualty of an honest day's work in the line of duty. We cannot allow this type of tragedy to happen to anyone else's son, nephew, brother, friend, cousin. Dillon's life was cut short for no good reason, and I won't rest until I have the comfort in knowing that this type of senseless violence will come with appropriate harsh consequences. If there is one universal lesson to be learned here, it is that every life matters. No life should be allowed to be taken without cause and without consequence. We give convicted death row inmates years before execution and numerous appeals after being proven guilty of heinous crimes beyond a reasonable doubt, and yet less than a year ago, a 20-year-old brutally murdered. Dillon was not a perfect person, but he did not deserve to die for being at the wrong place at the wrong time, while his murderer still roams free, wearing a badge, claiming to serve and protect. Almost every aspect of Dillon's case was mishandled, and we do demand justice. We need to have clear circumstances who dictate when the use of deadly force is acceptable. If the state of Utah and legislation that prohibited the use of deadly force without certain conditions beyond one officer's feeling, Dillon would still be alive. How many innocent people have to die before we as a community say enough is enough and strip these officers of their invincibility? All we want is justice. Justice for Dillon and justice for all the future victims. We need laws in place, and now that will prohibit the overuse of deadly force and needless police-inflicted brutality. It is my hope and my prayer, with properly drafted legislation, Dillon's Law will not only protect the public from police corruption, but also allow the public to start trusting and respecting law enforcement, making their jobs as safer as well. I want to bring to light the fact that Dillon's background and criminal record had nothing to do with the circumstances that led up to his death. He was targeted and killed based on his appearance only. Guns were drawn by officers on 3 innocent men during nothing out of the ordinary. Are we going to sit back and accept that this could happen to anyone?
No!
I urge everyone who is listening to join the fight for justice. Contact your local legislators and tell them you are a supporter. Justice for Dillon, and would like to see accountability legislation for officers using deadly force, as well as unbiased crime scene protocol and investigations of officers involved incidents. And if you would like to contribute to Dillon's Memorial Fund and help continue our fight for justice, please like our Facebook page. We can't do this without your continued support, and we cannot let this issue rest until there is justice for Dillon and all of our other victims.
Georgina,
Thank you.
comply or die is not the law. The police have become the criminals of this city. And we need to stand up, and you are the resistance. If you're standing here right now, you are the resistance.
We just want to thank everyone for being here today. If you haven't given the Justice for Dillon Taylor Facebook page a like, please give that page a like. You'll stay up to date about what's going on with the case and all the details of the panhandling for justice that Gina's going to talk about a bit later. So right now we'll have one of our first speakers, Lex. Do you want to come out? Lex Scott is a member of Utah Against Police Brutality and the United Front Party. Yeah! Give her a warm welcome.
Thank you. We have a problem with the police in the United States. Dillon Taylor went to a convenience store.
That one over there.
He went to that one over there, that 7-Eleven. He did not commit a crime. He was simply walking, listening to music. And a police officer got a 911 call. A 911 call that should have never happened. That police officer didn't come to that 7-Eleven to investigate a crime. He did not come to that 7-Eleven to protect and serve. That police officer came there and he murdered Dillon in cold blood.
Yes, he did.
After he murdered Dillon, he put his hands behind his back in handcuffs while Dillon drowned in his own blood. And he put on a show for his body cameras. And he put on a little show for the news. And he murdered a man in cold blood, and are we going to stand for that? No! We absolutely are not. And then what did they do? They put Dillon on trial for his own death. Do we deserve to die because we have a criminal record?
Comply or die is not the law.
Is our life less than a police officer's life? Does it mean less? No. His life mattered. All of our lives matter. And we deserve for that police officer to go to court for the murder that he committed. media to report fairly about Dillon. Now, most of us, who has met Dillon Taylor? To those of us who have not, he seems like a two-dimensional figure. But I'm telling you, he was a real three-dimensional person who had a future, who had a family, and who had a life. And he breathed in and out, and he didn't deserve to die. So we protest today for justice.
Justice for Dillon! Justice for Dillon! Fuck the police!
Now, we've been protesting. Sometimes people say protesting doesn't help. But let me tell you what has happened in the 9 months since we've been protesting for Darian Hunt, for Dillon Taylor, for Mike Brown, for Eric Garner. Almost every state has introduced legislation to either have body cameras or to give the police accountability. And we deserve that accountability. So when we are out here today, we are actually doing something.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
For over 2 years. Daniel Willard, Kelly Simon, and Corey Kanosh.
I didn't know Dillon, but I know Gina. Gina comes to every protest. She protests for every life. I'm usually out here protesting for black lives, but today I'm protesting for a white life. You know why? Injustice is injustice.
Right on, right on.
Murder is murder, and we want justice for Dillon Taylor. No justice, no peace.
No peace! No justice! No peace! No killer police!
No justice!
No peace!
No
killer police! No justice! No peace! No killer police! No justice! No peace! No killer police! No justice! No peace! No killer police!
So, with what Des said, there are so many people that are violated in Utah, and it seems to be an epidemic. I'm trying to start a new campaign called Panhandling for Justice. I wanted to represent people from Utah, and I'm hoping that it'll take off and become nationwide. We have victims: Matthew Stewart, Todd Blair, Danielle Willard, Darian Hunt, Cody Evans, Kent Ashworth, Christopher Simmons, Joey Tucker, Kelly Simmons, Corey Kanosh, Brian Wood, Geist the Dog, Cody Ramsier. And we don't hear much about Cody. Cody was a friend of ours. Alan Nelson, Dillon Taylor, Sean Crumey, just to name a few. We need to bring awareness. We need these people up on a board to remind people that this is happening in our own community every single day. So please, when you see justice, panhandling for justice, if you see a family standing on a corner saying panhandling for justice, please be generous, because it's going to one good cause: for awareness. We want everyone to know that just because they don't see it, it's not happening.
So, as some of you might be aware, we are absent one police chief in Salt Lake City now. Chris has departed. I talked to Chris specifically about Dillon Taylor's case, and what he told me was this: it was the appropriate amount of force given the very difficult circumstances that police officer had to face. So I'm not too broken up about the fact that he got canned. Granted, he should have been out.
How much more did he cover up?
So the real question is, why is it that America leads the world in police violence, in police shootings, in civilian deaths related to police? I mean, is that something you're proud of?
No!
It's not something I'm proud of either. What we need is for people to start standing up like we're doing today. We need people to mobilize and take action. So right now, I'm going to turn the time over to our next speaker. We're going to hear from Gregory Lucero.
I'd like to thank all of you for being out. I mean, it's hot, it's sweaty, but this is the best thing you could be doing with your Saturday evening. This was probably the most nervous I've ever been to speak in front of a crowd. And the reason why is because the loss of Dillon Taylor affects you, his friends and family, And it's hard for me to say anything that could even begin to repair or even attempt to mend the hole that you fill in your life. A young man was cut down in the spring of his life. We have no idea, and we will never know what he could have done, what he could have become, and how we all could have grown with him. And that tragedy is still, as it always is, a tragedy. But there's something different that happened this tragedy. The family, especially Gina, said, although we're hurting, we're going to be fighting. And you have constantly and consistently fought for the rights of the people who live here in Utah. And it's exceptional and it's amazing. So what then can I say? I never had the honor of meeting Dillon. I never saw his smile or knew his laugh like all of you have. But what I do know is his name. His name is a cry, and it's a cry for justice. Today, which I haven't done in months, I watched the full video again, and it was a show. It was disgusting, it was despicable, and it was deplorable. And while a young man felt his future drained from him, he was cuffed, and he was frisked, and there wasn't even the aid you would expect from a lifeguard given to him. And this is the so-called peace officers who are supposed to protect us.
How many people can cops kill before they're the criminals?
Right. And that's the thing. What it was a criminal act.
Yeah.
And it's easy to think that this is just a family problem, a friend problem, even a Utah problem. But I know, I am contacted from activists and revolutionaries from San Jose, California, to New York City in the Bronx, saying, where is the justice for Dillon Taylor? All across the world, people know his name, and they know the injustice that we are fighting against. And so I just want to thank everyone, especially the family that this has been so hard, for being here and fighting. So thank you. But there's something more than this. If you look around this crowd, how many of us look like the preppy upper class college student? None of us. None of us. And I know, after the brutal slaying, murder of Dillon Taylor, I always feel a fear walking to the corner store to get some Gatorade, to get some chips, and there's a fear that's pervasive in Utah. But the only way we can get rid of that fear is by fighting. By fighting for legislation, by fighting for these killer cops to be thrown in jail, and to be fighting for our communities.
Right on, right on.
And that's something that we need to keep in mind. Now, I know in the paper it says Burbank was only gone because of a sexual harassment lawsuit. Do any of you believe that? No, it's us. It's those of us who went out in the streets. It's those of us who are here today who got him fired. Fuck Burbank. Exactly. So, something to keep in mind, you know, is the arc of justice is, or the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I read the deplorable, insufferable, so-called civilian review board that said there was no wrongdoing. Do you think there was no wrongdoing?
No!
Did they watch the same video we did?
They did, and they ruled, yeah, because they're all friends of cops, and that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable for them to wash the blood off the hands of Ron Cruz, who should be in jail. Yeah, let alone wandering our streets with guns, ready to kill another one of us. So, along with panhandling for justice, along with Utah Against Police Brutality, along with Injustice Utah, there are so many different ways that we can stand and we can fight. And that's what we need to do. Because if we don't dare to struggle, we have no chance of winning. Yeah! And what do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want? Now! One last thing is I want to encourage all of you to support Panhandling for...
We know that Burbank is out, but that is hardly the end of the story, because coming into my office just 2 days ago, I was walking past the scene in front of me, and it was two homeless guys sitting under the tree on the grass. I happen to have, there's a little plaza where there's a lot of grass right by my office, right downtown. And I paused, I walked over, I stood about 15 feet away. I know how scared and how, you know, fucking chicken shit cops can be, and so I stood 15 feet away and I stopped to watch. And about 30 seconds later, this officer comes over to me and he says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I'm just observing. I just want to see what's going on here." And he says, "Well, we're just doing our jobs. We got a call from a person who walks their dog here and said that these guys look suspicious." And I said, "Well, let me tell you about what happens when somebody calls and says that a guy looks suspicious, especially a guy, one of the guys was Native American, the other guy was kind of a scruffy up, obviously homeless white guy." And I told him about Dillon Taylor, and I told him about how the 911 call that came in, the most the woman could say was that, well, they just don't look right. They look suspicious. I don't know. It's just the way they look. The 911 operator asked, "Are they harassing you? Do you feel threatened?" And she specifically answered, No, I don't know. No threats have been made. No, I don't feel threatened. Not at all," is exactly what she said. And still the call went out to the officers as though there was some threat involved. So obviously I'm a little bit interested when these guys are talking to these two men. And after about a 2.5 hour long conversation with these cops, during which they finally let the two guys go, I learned a lot of very interesting things. One of those is that all of the officers in Salt Lake City, the majority, are very happy that Burbank is gone, because they thought that Burbank was not enough on their side, that he didn't have their backs enough. Yeah. Ironic, since he supposedly was canned because he was protecting one of his own. So in other words, our jobs are far from over, because we don't know who they're going to put in his place. I hope to God it's not somebody who's even a bigger hard ass and who is even less likely to hear what we have to say. So we need to keep the pressure on. We need to keep fighting against that kind of tyranny. We need to keep fighting for openness. You need to find out, if you live in Salt Lake City and you're going to be voting for mayor, find out the backgrounds of those who are running. I'm a little bit scared right now because one of the candidates was involved in writing legislation that made it harder to sue a municipality when a police officer was out of control. Jackie Biscupsi. Yeah. So, which is really painful for me because I really like her as a person and I really like her politics otherwise. So I'm a little bit in a quandary myself right now. But inform yourselves before you go to the polls if you live in Salt Lake City. So, one of the things that I wanted to tell you guys about today is that we have officially filed a claim against Salt Lake City, the Salt Lake City Police Department, South Salt Lake City, the South Salt Lake City Police Department, and Salt Lake County on behalf of...
Right on.
Yep. Yes, you have been served. And we're very excited about where this might go. The reality, however, is that to prevail against the police and against the municipalities in these situations is extremely difficult. What we can hope to benefit from overall is going to be from getting the awareness, as Gina said, getting that out there, keeping this relevant, keeping people talking about it, the expectation of winning against them. We're going to fight with all we have. But really, it's going to come from you guys. It's going to come from external pressure not from anything that they're just going to cave, you know, through the legal process. So keep the pressure on, keep it happening. But let me just tell you a couple of things that I found out when I was researching this. Because I know what all of our backgrounds are. Just so you guys know a little bit about me, I'm kind of a newcomer to the law. I've only been a lawyer since 2010. Before that, I've been a painting contractor with my husband. So I want to tell you guys, because everybody talks about how hard it is to be a cop, and I'm sure it's got its challenges, obviously. But let me tell you guys, this is from the 2013, which is the most recent data for the most dangerous jobs, number 1 to number 10. Okay, these are the most dangerous jobs to have. And by the way, let me just give you a spoiler. Being a police officer is not even in the top 10, okay? Number 10, construction laborers. All right, this is based on total fatalities, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics 2013. Construction workers, the 10th most dangerous job. How many people here are construction workers? All right, yeah, me too, I can raise my hand to that. Electrical power line installers and repairs, okay, makes sense? Number 8, farmers, ranchers, and other agricultural workers. Yep. Number 7, drivers, truck drivers.
Bring that too.
Number 6, I think Denny, you know, could relate to that. Number 6, mining machine operators. Number 5, garbage collectors. Number 4, roofers. Number 3, aircraft pilots and flight engineers. Number 2, fishing and related industry workers. And the most dangerous, I think we can all imagine this, logging industry workers. Cops aren't on there, and yet they walk around acting like they're the ones who have to pull out that gun every 5 seconds because they're fearing for their lives. Yeah. Gina just said, let's put them all in a skirt. I think if the uniform fit, yeah, that would be appropriate. Yeah. So let me just tell you guys, the notice of claim is now public information. I would encourage you all to read it, and maybe Gina, if you want to post it on your website, that's totally up to you. But it tells the bigger story. You guys have heard me talk about little pieces of it. There's one last thing I want to tell you guys. This whole notion of somebody being a criminal and therefore, like Lex said, you know, somehow the greater public seems to think, well, it's one less thug. Well, let me tell you about this thug who is Dillon Taylor. I checked into that second-degree felony aggravated robbery that he had on his record, that the district attorney used against him, and that every cop I talked to uses against him. Well, he was a criminal. He had a criminal record. In fact, even right now to this day, in probation on that first crime, and he ended up doing another 90 days from that same judge. Another 90 days. So let me ask you to just think about that. I already know I'm preaching to the choir here, because I know you guys hear this shit on TV about criminal record, and you don't believe it and you don't give any weight to it. But that's why Dillon, in the eyes of everybody except those who are here, was a thug. Now you tell me if that's what that should mean.
No!
Hell no. No. So I've rambled on too long, and I'm probably getting heat stroke standing here. So I'm gonna close. I thank you all for being here. Please keep the heat on. For those who don't know, I've known Dillon since he was 14 through my friends Gina and Denny, and it's a very personal thing for me to be involved in this movement, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity and to have my eyes opened even further by my associations with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.